Hello and welcome to this webinar. I'm Joey Yarber from Simon Solutions, the creator of Charity Tracker. We're going to hold on just a few moments as we wait for other attendees to come into the room, but thank you so much for your presence, your time here today that you're giving my colleague Kyle and I, as we are looking forward to presenting to you what we've learned through the last few years working with donors who are looking for data. The title of the webinar, the Data-Driven Donor Dollars presentation being brought to you by Simon Solutions. And we have more information to come here. Again, we're just going to give a few minutes while we wait for others who are coming into the room. And we appreciate so much your time and consideration today. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin our presentation. Again, I'm Joey Yarber from Simon Solutions. I'm a community impact specialist here. We're the creators of Charity Tracker. I'm joined by my colleague Kyle Minkler, and our goal here today is just to take you through a little bit about what we've learned as to what is going on when it comes to donors and what they're looking for to donate to charities, to ministries, to organizations throughout the world when it comes to looking for funding, for grants. What are they looking for? And what we are learning is that they are looking for data. Data to prove the merit, to prove the impact. Data equals money. If you can provide data, effective data, very clear, concise data, you receive funding. This is what grants are looking for, the specifics as to what they're looking for. And what we're learning is that there is a lot right now in focus on being able to prove your merit, to prove your worth and the impact that you're making. Charity Tracker, which is a database, is able to provide you with that. You know, you've heard the expression, data is the new oil. It really is. What we're learning is that if you're able to provide data, you're able to get fuel, right? The fuel can light up. It can create the energy to take your agency from a continuity type perspective. So you may have funds today, but tomorrow and the future, where is your funding coming from? How are you going to get that? So what we're learning is that data provides that fuel to provide you with the ongoing continuity that an agency is seeking, to ongoing strength, and to be able to provide the impact, the help, the care, and the love that you have for your community and your mission. So a little bit about us here at Charity Tracker. We've been in business for around 20 years. This all started from Hurricane Katrina back in 2006. We were host to about 330 evacuees from our Gulf Coast, and we found out something really quickly. We didn't have a way of keeping track of data. there was no way to put everyone on the same page at the same time because we didn't have data. Data of resource availability, data of who had the resources. Working with the evacuees at that time, we found there was a huge service gap because we didn't have a way of keeping track of data. So this is the creation of Charity Tracker. Necessity is the mother of invention in our case. Through this work, this mission that we've been on the last 20 years, we learned a lot. We learned a lot about the collection of data, how to make that easy, how to make it intuitive so that the input of data is there within an account that you're working in Charity Tracker, so that ultimately you're able to provide the proof to be able to measure results, but then document and prove the merit that you have there with this data. And it really has been putting everyone on the same page at the same time. From an agency perspective, but then, as a community perspective of agencies that are in a community that are working together effectively, streamlining the helping process and in the way measuring the data results, and then providing this impact that now is a data-driven type of collaboration. It's very exciting where we see technology going, and we would appreciate the opportunity just to take a few minutes here of your time to share with you a little bit more about how that you can collect this data, be able to make decisions from the data, and then be able to report this information out to the funders. Data equals money and funding. My colleague Kyle has been here, and I'd like to introduce you to him now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kyle Minkler.
All right. Thank you, Joey. And thank you, everybody, for your time today. I know it's very valuable. And I hope that today, Joey and I will be able to kind of introduce you to a way to get that data in a way that tells your story, that shows your impact as a nonprofit, a ministry, government organization. We know that there's a lot of people that are on this webinar and they need to know how this tool can help their organization. So I'll do my best to share here in a quick demonstration how the tool Charity Tracker can serve you and your team. Now, Charity Tracker, as Joey shared, is a collaborative tool. It can be used by multiple organizations in a community footprint, like some nonprofits and helping agencies provide services day in and day out, whether they be education services, classes, workshops, basic needs, food, clothing, maybe it's counseling, case management, navigation of services, referrals, and working together in a community footprint, whether it be a citywide collaborative, county, or several counties to have a regional network, is one way that our system really works effectively. A lot of funders and grants want to know, hey, not only are you serving families, Charity Tracker can help you, help you quantify that in reports, but also, are you being a good player in the community? Are you working together? Are you being good stewards of the resources you already have by reducing duplication of efforts because you're on a Charity Tracker community network? So our system can be used in a collaborative way like this graphic shows, but it could also be used just for one organization. All the time, we have organizations that come to us and they say, hey, we just need a way to move from paper whenever we write for a grant or show our board or show our donors or our funders, our impact. It is a lot of manual data calculation, looking at papers, going through folders and entering that data in a spreadsheet or something, and then totaling it all up. It takes hours. Even just one organization using Charity Tracker can revolutionize what you're doing there to record data and also report on that. So the Charity Tracker tool is really just a platform to empower you in the work that you're already doing in your agency or in your community to streamline that process. So Charity Tracker is a web-based tool. Every Charity Tracker network is accessed just with a computer internet connection and a web browser like Google Chrome. And we could log into the system. Let's say today I'm with an organization called the Caring Center. Up in the top left corner, you'll see my name and the organization that I represent, the Caring Center. Now, everything I do today is going to show Kyle at the Caring Center today. There's two buttons on the left. Those are the main tools of our database. Search and add new case. Then we have some tabs up in the top right corner. Home, my agency, as well as agencies. Let's begin our tour just looking at these three tabs in the top right. Home, my agency, and agencies. Now, the agencies tab here would come into play if you are using our system in a collaborative way. A lot of these charity tracker networks are either funded or administrated by a nonprofit like a United Way or a community foundation, a hospital, even just a single organization in a community that gets the word out and says, "Hey, we want to work better together here in our community footprint." So the agencies tab, these grow by word of mouth typically, and we can see who else is on my charity tracker network. If you're on the webinar today and you're not currently using Charity Tracker and you're not sure if there's a network in your area, you can go to our website, charitytracker.com, and search for a network near you to see if you can plug in. If you don't have a network, that's okay. We're all over the place, but there might not be one in your specific community. You can start a network, and that's how a lot of these networks start. One organization says, "Hey, this is valuable. I want to collect that data and report on it to my funders. And if I want to bring other people in to make that even more powerful, more impactful, you can do that." So the agencies tab is here in the top right. The My Agency tab would be for my organization. Right here at the Caring Center, it's me and my teammate Greg Hammond. We're the two users, the two agents at my agency who can log into the system. I can add as many team members as I need, even trusted volunteers, or maybe a board member wants to log into the system and run a report from time to time. My Agency is where we go to manage who can log into the system. We'll come back to this My Agency tab later to run reports at the end. I want to show you several examples of reports to help tell your story and have meaningful statistics and data that help you get more funding for your organization. The Home tab, we see this when we first log in. At the top of the Home tab, we have some numbers. These numbers update each and every day as more families, more individuals are being served, not just by me here at the Caring Center, but maybe by other organizations on my Charity Tracker Collective network. So these numbers will update each and every day as more families are served. Of course, we can run a report for just this month or this quarter, or this year to date or something. But please know these numbers just kind of show your impact in a daily way. Also on the Home tab, there's a bulletin board feature. This is a great communication tool. If you are using our system in that collaborative way, a lot of communities post bulletins about needs. They'll say, "Hey, we have a need for volunteers to help us sort food for an upcoming event. Can anyone help?" You could post a bulletin, "Hey, volunteers needed." Or maybe you have an upcoming event, you want to let people know about it. "Hey, we received 50 backpacks that were donated to us for school-aged children, and we're going to be distributing those school backpacks next week." I could post a bulletin about that upcoming event. But a lot of things, a lot of stories we hear is getting needs met. So maybe here at the Caring Center, there's someone that comes in needing help. Maybe it's an elderly woman and she has a need that we're not unable to help with. Like let's say she needs a hot water heater. Maybe that's not something we normally help with. It's kind of a unique need. We can post a bulletin about that and see if there's any other organizations on my community network that might be able to meet that need. So I could say we have an elderly woman in need of one, elderly woman who hasn't had hot water in 3 years. Can anyone help? We hear this. This is actually a real example. And then this gets posted immediately to the bulletin board for all users to see when they log in. It also goes out via email. So if someone's not logged into the system right then and there, they will get an email about that bulletin in real time and they can log in and comment. And this is a real example in our local community in North Alabama. This was posted, and within about 10 minutes, there was 4 responses that were basically all the same thing. "Hey, I can help." And the other person's like, "If that person can't help, I can help. My church has a volunteer who is also a electrician. They'll go to Lowe's and then install it." The other agency was like, "Yeah, we can help. If those two can't help, we will. We want to get that need met quickly." So the bulletin board right there is a great way to mobilize resources, get needs met quickly. But the main tools of data collection and reporting start with these buttons on the left: search and add new case. Whenever I have someone that I'm working with here at the Caring Center, I can search the database to see if that person already has what we call a case file. I think of it like a file in a filing cabinet. If that person's been added to the system before, either by my team, Greg or I here at the Caring Center, or any other agency on my Charity Tracker network, I can search the database and find that person's case. So step 1 is always search. If John's in the system already, we can click John's name to open up his case file. If John was not in the system yet, let's say we search for someone who's never been in the system before, Ricky Johnson, maybe Ricky just moved to the area. We search for Ricky. If he's not in the system yet, I have the other option there to click Add New Case to create a new case file for Ricky. So again, we always start by searching, but if they're not in there, we can click Add New Case. And this is the intake form. This is really, really customizable. Some funders and board members and donors will want to collect certain demographic data. So they'll come to you and they'll say, hey, it's awesome that you're collecting, gender and ethnicity on these families. Could you also collect, how many veterans are you serving? Is this person a veteran, yes or no? Or how many unhoused families are we serving? You might have a field there that says, is this family homeless or at risk of being homeless or unhoused? Or maybe you want to track, how many people were you serving this year that are receiving WIC that are below the age of 29? We have a saying, if you can record it, you can report it. So this intake field here, these intake fields rather, on this intake form can be modified to collect exactly what we need. So if I'm adding Ricky Johnson, I just fill out Ricky's information, things like age is calculated off of date of birth, zip code. You could break things down by geographic location, zip code, city, and how many families do we serve in a particular zip code, all of that. But it starts with a case file. Now, John's already in the system, so I'm just going to open up his case. And here on the right, we see some really important things. First of all, there's a photo. You can take a picture with a webcam or digital camera if you like to have a face with a name. So whenever John arrives and receives services, we have that face on the case. Below that, we have some basic information about where John lives and so forth. And then we have these tabs out to the right. For the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through these colored tabs, starting first with personal info. This is a summary of any demographic, contact information, income and expense level information that you need to be recording for John and his family. So the personal info tab summarizes all of that information. Again, this is all reportable, as I'll show you a little bit later. We're going to run some reports together. The next tab there, assistance. Let's go there now. This is the assistance history of John and his family. You see the number 10 out to the right. There's been 10 times in the past that our team or any other agency aside from the Caring Center that's on Charity Tracker has assisted John's family. We can see that assistance history here under this assistance tab. Now, the most recent assistance record will always, always, always be at the top of the list. We know who, when, and what the assistance was that was provided to John. We know who it was. It was me at the Caring Center. When this was last month on May 11th. And then what was provided, we provided $225 for the category housing, lodging, rent. We have funds for rental assistance here at the Caring Center, and we evaluated his need. It had merit, and we're not duplicating service with another agency in the community. So we decided back on May 11th to provide that service, and we recorded that data here within the system. But I can go back in time as well. I also worked with John back on May 5th. We recorded that he attended one of our classes. It was our education job skills training class. We even can have notes here. He attended our spring, summer employment workshop. John has a great attitude and eager to become employed. A little bit further down, I also worked with him back in April of this year for 1 hour for the category case management crisis intervention. These categories like crisis intervention, education, job skills training, rent, referrals, clothing, anything we do, these are all completely customizable. So you can have different buckets, if you will, when you go to report. Here's how many families we helped with rental assistance, and also here's how many people we helped with job skills training, or here's how many people attended that class, I should say. Or here's how many hours of crisis intervention we've done this year. And you can assign dollar values to anything. So when you go to report later, you can quantify that as a financial figure. Even though I might not be charging John for any case management, services we provide, they're free to the people in the community that we're serving. That's the reason my agency, the Caring Center, is here in the community, is to provide those services. But those services have value that you can quantify. So maybe I search, in the state of Indiana, every hour of case management crisis intervention has a value of $44 roughly per hour. You can tag that assistance with that dollar amount. Just yesterday, I was talking to an organization in Washington State, Tacoma, and she needs to be able to show not only how many people attended a class, but those classes cost funds. They're free to the community, but every time someone attends a class, that has a dollar value that their funders want to see. And that's where you can kind of follow the trail, where the funds come to your organization and where they go out the door to the families, what the value is. So the assistance tab shows me that. It also shows me if I'm connected with other agencies, We can see Julie Brown at the Salvation Army, another partner agency on my network, back in March of this year, provided 3 items for the category clothing for a job interview. So again, for Connected, we can also see if other agencies are working together. We do not want to stop John from getting help. The purpose here is to help him get more resources. We want to see, okay, it looks like you were helped over here with clothing yesterday. I can't help you with that, but I can help you with this service, wraparound services from a community perspective. Let's say today we're helping him in some way. I need to record an assistance record of that right here by clicking this Add Assistance button at the top. On the window that appears, I can get really specific as far as what the category is that I'm, assisting John with. And these can be, my demo site's kind of all over the place for today's webinar. Diaper banks might be tracking diapers and baby wipes or hygiene kits. Counseling organizations might track financial counseling versus mental health counseling versus an education-focused organization might have their different classes that they provide. You get the idea. You can customize all these categories to fit the different things that you do. Let's say for today, he's trying to get to a job interview across town and he needs some gasoline, some funds for gasoline to get to that job interview. I'm going to choose the category transportation gasoline. I'll put in the amount. Let's say we provided $30 and I can just say, provided $30 cash or maybe a $30 gift card, gas gift card was provided to John today to Circle K. I can even attach like see receipt attached, right here to the assistance record. It has today's date and time stamped on it. I could attach a copy of that file. I could also keep things private. If you ever are using Charity Tracker in a collaborative way, you don't need to share everything all the time. There may be a situation where you want to keep things visible to just your team. You can use the visible to feature to keep things private. But that's a real common workflow. We search for the person's case. That case file has all that important data like demographics, address, zip code, all that. And then under assistance, we just click add and we can record what exactly we're providing day in and day out. And then you could run cumulative reports for the month. Here's how many families we helped with gasoline this year, or for the month or for the year, whatever date range. Moving on, relationships. Because I assisted John a minute ago, I really positively impacted a family made up of 5 people. John came in the door, or we talked to him on the phone, but he represents a family made up of 5 people. John, his wife Mary, son Jeffrey, daughter Stephanie, son Kyle. Well, all these people, in that household can be included in reports. So I'll show you a report a little bit later, but we served one family today made up of 5 people. It looks like one senior, John, is over the age of 65. Mary, Jeffrey, Stephanie, and Kyle, it looks like one senior and 4 adults. But if there were children in the family or teenagers, you could run reports based upon age and break that down if you need. Documents, you can upload and attach files. That's pretty straightforward. Again, moving from paper to something electronic like Charity Tracker, uploading and attaching documents is really important. Alerts. If there's something very important about John, maybe I need to post an alert that says, hey, John had a large apartment fire. Please go above and beyond when serving him and his family. They need a lot of help right now. I can add an alert. It's kind of like a post-it note. Here's a link to the news article about his family's June 10th apartment fire. I could put that right there, and that's going to be the first screen that anyone that works with John here will see first and foremost. You can't miss it. It's going to be the first screen you see. So we can use an alert to flag that client if there's something really important. Outcomes. Some organizations really like to know not only how many people did they directly serve, but how many people are we helping have a positive outcome in their life. Again, also funders want to see that in reports. Not only how many people did you help, but how many people are you helping up out of a place of crisis to a more self-sustainable place. Outcomes is a great tool for that. You can set a list of goals for that person and work with them over time. That green progress bar you see there moves from left to right as goals are completed. Every goal that we set for someone has a due date and a status. If that goal is completed, that's great news. I can come in here and update this person's outcomes area. We can close out any goals that we've followed up with. Let's say you completed this financial mentoring class about a week early. That's great news. I can change that to complete and close it out. Now it's going to show that John has completed 50% of the goals we've set for him. This goal plan is very flexible. You can customize it for your population, those neighbors that you're serving. You can also print this out and give them a copy of it and say, hey, here's all the goals we've helped you with so far. We got to follow up with you next week to cancel your cable television and Netflix, and we'll get that final draft of your budget in place. We can print this out and include that individual in their own journey using the outcomes feature. Another tool that's really helpful is called assessments. What I like about this feature is you can assess someone on certain indicators of your choosing over time. We want to see how that person, maybe when they first came to us, like in December of 2022, when John first came to us, we assessed John on certain indicators or certain behaviors, you might say, or questions that our funder wants to see. Hey, I want to make sure that your organization is helping people increase their money management skills. We want to make sure your team is helping people increase their hourly wages or increase their level of hope for the future, maybe. It doesn't have to be just about finances at all. But back in December of 22, we assessed John Smith on these indicators, these 7 indicators of my choosing. These can all be customized for different assessments that you might have. And then most recently in March of this year, we assessed him again, and we can see he's gone up in certain areas, which is awesome. His ability to set financial goals for himself went from level 1, behind below average, all the way up to level 3, ahead above average. But his level of hope for the future has still stayed at level 2, and his income level's gone up. We can see all of that here for John, but we can also report across all the people that we assess. We have a report called Changes Over Time on this assessments feature. And what it does is it helps tell that story. We know out of all the people we've helped with their money management skills, based upon our assessment data, 83% have increased their money management skills thanks to our efforts. We have another 16% that have stayed the same, haven't gone up, but they also haven't gone down. And we have nobody has worse money management skills now than when they first came to us. So that right there is huge. A funder might be looking at, hey, I want my resources to go to a nonprofit or an organization that's helping people really impact their money management skills. Well, boom, there's the data point that you need to take to a meeting or write into your grant application. Here's the data. We can also see on some of these reports like how people are answering those questions. We have 25% of those people are excellent at managing their money skills right now, and we have another 25% are saying that they're not able to manage money at all. So keep in mind, we're going to spend more time in reports in just a moment, but it kind of helps kind of quantify the assessment feature and how we're helping people change their lives for the better, or maybe just identify service gaps, like, hey, we're not able to help people increase their wages. What's going on? Maybe you can address that in your policies and procedures based upon the data from Charity Tracker. We even have an appointments feature. Some organizations really like to streamline when people come in for service and how. So we have this appointments feature where I can schedule someone for an upcoming appointment, whether it be a class that we have, or maybe we do counseling sessions the 3rd Friday of every month, and we want to make sure we're not overwhelming our counseling team. I can use Charity Tracker's appointments feature to schedule when they come. The client gets reminders via email and text, and then they can be kept right in the loop. We also have a barcode scanning feature. For some organizations that see a high volume of people in a short period of time, let me turn off my background here so you can see more of what I'm doing. We can scan a barcode that represents that person. So whenever Jessica comes in for service here, I can scan her barcode. And instead of going to the assistance tab and recording, 1 box of food provided and save, or 1 item of clothing and save. With barcode mode, you can speed up that data collection process so you can get people through the line quicker. Maybe this person, Jessica, received food, clothing, and diapers. We can record that using a barcode scanner and get her right through the line quickly. A lot of people use this for class attendance as well. We had 8 people attend this class. We just scan their barcode and then record whatever assistance is being provided. And that all goes on the case file under that assistance tab there on the right. Now, in closing, and I'll bring Joey back on here in just a moment, to get the data in the system in the first place, if you have Excel or you've been tracking things in another database, we do provide a one-time import where we can bring in that data for you. There's also the ability on the fly to just click Add New Case and add someone to the system. Again, search for them. If they're not in the database yet, we can click Add New Case. Additionally, we have a feature called kiosk mode and remote intake. Let's say this is my website. It's not, but let's pretend it is. Let's say someone's seeking a service that we offer on our website. We can click on that. The client themselves can click a link on your website. Imagine a button right here that says get help or intake form. When you click on that, it can open up a client-facing screen. And that client-facing screen has all the data points that are important for your funders. You can collect all that information and it goes directly into your database. So the kind of the burden, if you will, of data entry, some of it at least could be passed on to the individual needing assistance if that makes sense for your population. Sometimes it might not be helpful to have them enter their own data, but just as an option, we learned that from during the COVID pandemic a few years back now, that some people aren't even walking into the building. They're doing it from the library and they need help, or they're calling in. You could send them this link via email and say, hey, I'm talking to you on the phone right now, but check your email on your computer or on your phone and fill out the form, and it goes right into the system. We can then help you from there because we'll have all your data streamlined in the system. The last thing I want to hit on is getting that data out in a meaningful way with reports. So each agency on a network can run reports under this blue My Agency tab. There's a reporting area here. Now we have lots of different reports. We don't pretend to know it all either. Some of you here on the webinar today might want to, after the call concludes here, you might want to send us an email like, hey, here's a grant that we're writing for. Can Cherry Tracker help me with that? Or here's a report that I need to run every month and it takes me hours. Is this something that Charity Tracker can help me turn from hours to minutes or seconds? You can send it along. We'll leave our contact information and we'll look at your reports. And if we can't do something, we'll be very transparent as well. But we have a lot of canned reports that meet the needs of many, many customers, over 30,000 users right now across the world. We have several different types of reports. Any report you choose to run, though, it's a two-step process. And I'm just going to walk you through the two steps quickly to introduce you to that. But you can always save that report down here. So if there's ever a report that you're like, hey, this is perfect, I need to run this every quarter, you can save it down here and call it Kyle's quarterly report or Joey's end of day summary report. And you can come back to that report whenever you want and just change the date range. So you don't have to go through the two steps I'm about to show you every single time. But let's take a look at a couple reports together. That two-step process, the first step, we can filter for anything that we need. So if I just click next, my report's going to report on anybody our agency has ever assisted for all time, across all programs and all types of assistance, all locations, all zip codes, all counties, everything. But usually you don't want that. You want to narrow it down by at least something like a date range, maybe. I want to look at just the people we've served since the beginning of the year, possibly. I can filter my report down for the first 2 quarters, from January through the end of June, possibly. Or maybe we want to look at just the month of June. I can filter by a date range of your choosing. Also, I can stack this. So maybe in July or June, we're in June here. Oh, maybe in June, we want to filter on just those families that have children under the age of 18 that are between the ages of 25 and 30 that live in a certain county that are men. And so imagine all those different data points you're collecting, they become filters that you can then use to narrow down further. I'm not going to get that specific, please know, but keep that in mind. You can drill down that level. Also, you own the data. We here at Charity Tracker don't look at your data. We don't touch your data. You own it. And at any point, if you wanted to download it into like an Excel spreadsheet, if you wanted to sort by columns and things, or maybe you want to upload it to like Tableau for data visualizations and things like that. Most of our reports have a CSV export option here where you can, change the format and download it to your computer and work with it from there. That was step 1. We filter the report and we could choose a format. Step 2 of the two-step process, we have these checkboxes. These checkboxes represent important data that you might want to include in the final report. If there's something you don't want in the final report, maybe you don't want the client's name on the report, you can leave that off. Maybe you do want their name, the date that you assisted them, and how you assisted them. You can include that information. So not only would you have summary totals, but also specific specific details. Who did we serve specifically this month? And then you could run the report like that. So step 1, step 2, and here's an example of a report for my agency, the Caring Center. In the month of June, we've provided assistance to 3 households made up of 10 household members. That was immediate. Instantly we get these numbers. Out of those 10 people, one was a child, 8 were adults, and one was a senior. It breaks it down by age ranges if you wish. Also, out of those 10 people, 2 were African American, 5 were Caucasian, 3 were Hispanic, 6 were female, 4 were male. How many dollars went out the door? We can get all those totals here at the top of the report. And then below that, we can see row by row, each person that was assisted. John today, $30 rather for transportation gasoline, has the date, the category, the amount, and so forth. It breaks down every single interaction that we've recorded as an assistance record. Also, maybe you want to break it down by category. Again, same two-step process. We can pick and choose what we want to see. What I like about this categories report, though, is across our entire organization for the whole year, let's say, or whatever date range this is, we've served X number of households with X number of household members. This much, this dollar representation of funds that went out the door is represented there in the top. But then below that, on a categories report, it doesn't show John, Tabitha, Jessica, it doesn't show their names. What it shows is overall totals by category. So we can show, for the year, here's how many hours of crisis intervention case management we did, and here's how many families we served with that. Or here's how many families received newborn sized diapers from our diaper bank, and what that dollar amount was for every package, it would multiply that out. Here's how many classes were attended for job skills training versus parent education versus GED prep class. So it breaks it down by category. A lot of people really like to see that, across all programs that you might provide. We even have a heat map report that would show visually. Imagine walking into a board meeting and saying, hey, this year, here's the footprint of all the families we've served at the Caring Center. It would show on a kind of Google Map overlay where these families are, where they live, and you could even drill down like a street level. This could help you with strategic planning as well. Hey, we have a lot of families in this neighborhood here. Maybe that's where we should open up our second center. We have one on the north side of town. We can see this area and the south side of town might be a better fit for our next center. Or maybe you see, hey, we have some families in this neighborhood that we know St. Vincent de Paul down the road is also likely serving, but we don't have any transparency between our two organizations. If you invite them on Charity Tracker, the St. Vincent de Paul team can see who we've served and vice versa. You have that collaboration piece to the puzzle there. So even a heat map report can be really helpful. So there's a lot of different reports here. And anyone here on the call, if you'd like to, when you follow up with us, we can do like a one-on-one introduction of the system and maybe run reports that specifically show what you want to see and what you need. We like to do that all the time, like to tailor our presentation for just a specific organization. But I hope that was a helpful introduction to how this tool can be really customized to fit your needs for data collection and all the way over to reporting to get that data out in a meaningful way. I'm going to bring Joey on now. Please know, we're happy to answer any questions if you want to use the chat here, or we will follow up with you with an email of this recording. Joey?
Data is the new oil. Provide the data and you get the fuel for your organization today, tomorrow, and the future. Show me the data and I'll show you the money. That's what we're hearing from the donors that we're working with and so many agencies that are going for grants. If they have the data to make the case, to share the impact, the grants are there, the funding is there, and we would appreciate the honor of working with you to see if we can help you give those donors your data. On behalf of Kyle, everyone here at Simon Solutions, the creator of Charity Tracker, thank you so much for your time. You can always get in touch with us by going to our website. It is charitytracker.com. That's charitytracker, all one word, .com. Thank you.